Good morning, gardening friends. It is time to get creative again. This time around, we're actually going to deal with cleaning the gutters, which, if you look at the gutters on the front of my parents' house, not a big deal. I can get up there with the 6-foot ladder and scoop it out by hand, but the problem is actually the back of the house, where the gutters are actually up on the second story. And trying to get to them, there's only a narrow passage back there. We can't really get a ladder in place. So actually, since we moved out here, we have not cleaned those gutters, at least to the best of my knowledge. So it may be 30 years worth of accumulation in there. So I came up with an idea, and that is to use these parts, and there's actually one more piece, which is a board. But basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it all with PVC risers like you would use in a sprinkler system. I originally thought about doing it with regular PVC, which you have to glue together, until I realized that the cost of the glue, actually the cost of the primer, to glue them together is more than the rest of the components involved. So at that point I decided to go with everything threaded. And one of the key components here, this piece, allows you to hook up the garden hose. The rest of it then is threaded in here. So that's really the beginning of everything. So let me build it and we'll do a little testing. Okay, so here's the initial test rig. On one end we've got the connection for the hose. It goes up, it goes across a little bit. I tried to size the pipe by memory, buying all these parts. To try and fit the gutter appropriately, and then it basically comes up and over the gutter and goes down that way. Creates enough of an offset so I don't get too much splashback, I hope, when the water's squirting out way up above. So let me hook it up and try. Alright, I just tried fitting this up in the gutter, only to discover that this piece right here is too long. Thankfully I picked up extra parts, so we're going to swap that out. Alright folks, well, it's a couple hours later, and this is the extended rig that I built. I've got the board on there now as a backbone. I'm not sure if I mentioned the board, but the whole idea was to give it some additional support, and I'm really glad I did. Because when you really get to kind of cranking on it, this end starts to feel really flimsy. And you can kind of see how I've arranged it up on that end. It seems to be working actually pretty well. The only thing is, now I'm going to get to, let me just show you what it looks like up above. That's the gutter I'm trying to clean. So that's second story, running all the way down that way, and running back this way. We've got the actual downspout, where it's all coming down, and that ties down into the decking and out to the street. The real problem is going to be around the swimming pool here. This is my choke point here, and trying to get to actually standing here and being able to clean the gutter with that long pole. That's why it's got so many elbows, and hopefully this will all work. Alright, before I decided to attack the next part of this, I decided to go scrounging. Found a couple more boards, fairly narrow, actually garden stakes, and put them together and extended this out. So now it has a bit more support, although there is really kind of a joint right about there. So I don't know how that's going to work, but hopefully it'll be a little stiffer, allow me to work a little harder. You push it a little harder so I can get it done a little faster. Okay folks, it's a few days later. Yes, a few days. Dad's got the music on in the back. A couple of things happened. The good news is the rig worked, and we were able to clear from that end all the way to this end. But partway through we discovered that the downspout was clogged. So one thing leads to another and all of that, and we end up replacing part of the gutter after, and I'm going to paint that to match. But what we had to do is actually pull off the gutter so we could get to where it goes into the ground there, so we could actually run a snake. We had to rent a snake and spent all day digging roots out of there. But the good news is it's clear and everything should run, and now the gutter's rebuilt and that clip is on backwards. But I'm going to finish this up, and that's kind of where this project stands. It's actually starting to rain, so we may get a good test. I think that's it. Okay, so the shorter piece seems to have worked. I run some water. I didn't actually see any come out, so I'm wondering actually whether the downspout is clogged out front here. But I moved on to the next step, which is I needed to have a nozzle. So what I've done for a nozzle, let me actually come down a bit here. You can see there, this is a cap, which would normally just cap everything off. What I did was I mounted the cap against one of the risers and put it in the vise on the workbench. That allows the vise to kind of bottom out here. Otherwise, if you try and clamp it right around here, you're going to have trouble just having it kind of move around. And with that, I managed to cut a slot in the top. Trying to cut a slot on anything round can be difficult, but if you can bottom it out in the vise, that'll help. So now I have a nozzle, and I have a backup cap just in case. Okay, honestly, the back pressure with the nozzle is quite a bit. So I think I'm going to reserve the nozzle for trying to clean out the downspouts. Other than that, I'm going to run it open. That should keep it from just getting completely out of hand. Okay, so the plan was that I was going to stick the nozzle down the downspout right here. Believe it or not, that's the downspout there. Maybe a little out of focus, but you can see there's a ton of debris up in here. I cleaned these like 2-3 months ago, but I'm guessing it's our pepper tree that actually dropped most of this. That and some pine trees. So I'm going to end up cleaning out the front gutters too, and then I'll get back to testing.